Have I ever told you you're a good-looking president? What do you eat for dinner? I have chips. I should be a good little boy, but I love chips. And you look like you've never even had a chip before.
Right. Back in school, I was a dork.
Yeah, really. Actually, I never went to school.
They beat me. They all called me big boy. Then they throw ham. But now they think I'm cool.
True.
All right, guys, we're back. It is Monday, January 13th in the year 2025. I'm Dave Rubin. This is the Rubin Report. We are live streaming on Rumble, on YouTube, and on Locals. If you'd like to join us for the post-game show, ask me some questions, poke, prod, correct me, confuse me, whatever you want to do, rubinreport.locals.com. And we got a big-time show for you today. I mean, sometimes they just kind of write themselves, and this one obviously has a lot to do with the Florida fires, which are an act of God, but also deeply connected to the mismanagement that we've seen of California over the years. It's connected to DEI. It's more widely, I would say, connected to how everything is politicized. So as houses are burning down, everyone's fighting over politics. We've got all the cast of characters, including the lizard man himself, Gavin Newsom, and a bunch more. And this is all to the backdrop of we are roughly 8 days away from a Donald Trump presidency. Well, 1 week from today, actually. And I want to frame this all around this video with Mark Zuckerberg. So we talked a little bit about it on Thursday, but Mark Zuckerberg, obviously the CEO of Meta, the founder of Facebook, or what he originally called the Facebook, who has sort of been bad on free speech, but not the worst, right? When it comes to the big tech stuff. They drag him out in front of Congress. He kind of defends free speech a little bit over the years, but also absolutely was silencing people via Facebook and Instagram and everything else. Well, he seems to be having this, his hero's journey, I would say, seems to be on the kind of up move right now, where he's trying at least to fight for the right principles. And as I said the other day, it's like you will have to decide whether you believe him or not as he comes around on some of this stuff. But in any event, he went on Joe Rogan's podcast. We're going to show you a couple of clips here that will frame the rest of the show, because if we cannot talk about any of these issues, whether they're elections or fires or race or education or anything else, if we can't talk about any of that stuff freely, we just can't do anything. So here is clip one, Zuckerberg on Rogan talking about how the Biden administration was trying to force Facebook to censor you when it came to the vaccine.
At the beginning, it kind of seemed like, okay, we should give a little bit of deference to the government and the health authorities on how we should play this. But when it went from, 2 weeks to flatten the curve to, in the beginning, it was like, okay, there aren't enough masks. Masks aren't that important. To then it's like, oh no, you have to wear a mask. And, everything was shifting around. It just became very difficult to kind of follow. And this really hit the most extreme, I'd say, during the Biden administration, when they were trying to roll out the vaccine program. And I'm generally pretty pro rolling out vaccines. I think on balance, the vaccines are more positive than negative. But I think that while they're trying to push that program, they also tried to censor anyone who is basically arguing against it. And they pushed us super hard to take down things that were true, right? I mean, they basically pushed us and said, anything that says that vaccines might have side effects, you basically need to take down. And I was just like, well, we're not going to do that. We're clearly not going to do that. I mean, that is kind of inarguably true.
Who is they? Who's telling you to take down things that
it was
talk about vaccine side effects?
It was people in the Biden administration.
Okay, so I want to do the last line first, because when Rogan asks the right question, who is they? Who are the people that were screaming at you about this stuff and demanding that you take this stuff down? We'll have more on some of those people in a moment and some of the actions that they took. But I think that's the right question. Now, as it pertains to everything else, look, this is, as I said, this is the hero's journey he's on. He seems to be coming around right now. It's good, and it's a little late to the party, pal, kind of thing, right? And we wish you would have been a little more public about this, and why is it that me, and it wasn't just me, many other people were way more skeptical than you were, Zuckerberg and all your friends? Those are all interesting questions to ask. As long as he's doing this honestly and forthrightly, and they're not going to do it again, which who knows what the next thing coming down the pike is, then I would say it is net good. But when you hear that the administration was calling and screaming about some of this stuff, let's not forget, we had Jim Jordan on. I talked to him at the Capitol, right? We did that interview at the Capitol a year or so ago. And he told me that one of my tweets from July of 21, where I said the vaccines were not working as promised and that mandates were coming, that was taken down by the government. Now, that was through old Twitter. I don't even remember if we even put it on Facebook. But the point is, there was an entire machine basically built so that you wouldn't be able to ask questions about quite literally your own health and what they were demanding, and in some cases forcing you to put in your body and your children's body, et cetera, et cetera. Here's a bit more on some of the behaviors of the Biden administration as it came to how they were going to silence you.
These people from the Biden administration would call up our team and like scream at them and curse, and it's like these documents it's all kind of out there.
Oh, did you record any of those phone calls?
I don't think we but I think
I want to listen.
I mean, there are emails. the emails are published. It's all kind of out there, and they're like, and basically it just got to this point where we were like, no, we're not gonna take down things that are true. That's ridiculous. They want us to take down this meme of Leonardo DiCaprio looking at a TV talking about how 10 years from now or something, you're going to see an ad that says, okay, if you took a COVID vaccine, you're eligible for, for this kind of payment, like this sort of like class action lawsuit type meme. And they're like, no, you have to take that down. And we just said, no, we're not going to take down humor and satire. We're not going to take down things that are true. And then at some point, I guess, I don't know, it flipped a bit. I mean, Biden, when he gave some statement at some point, I don't know if it was a press conference or to some journalists, where he basically was like, these guys are killing people. And I don't know, then like all these different agencies and branches of government basically just like started investigating, coming after our company. It was brutal. It was brutal.
Wow.
Okay, again, I would say you have to decide for yourself whether you think he's being authentic, whether he's a little late to the party, all of those things. I like seeing people evolve, and I'm trying to give the guy the benefit of the doubt here. What I would really love out of him when he talks about those emails and those phone calls, who was it at the administration that was calling and screaming at you? Now, in some sense, this is no surprise to anybody, right? That video that I used to show you all the time of Jen Psaki saying she coordinates, the White House coordinates with big tech on messaging. So we knew all of this was happening. Obviously, there was the Jim Jordan report and everything else. So it's good to see look, we're a week away from a new administration. The culture has shifted. Many more people have been red-pilled. So this is all good. I think the question as it pertains to Zuckerberg is, if you're going to follow him into the metaverse or any of the other things that they're doing, these wearables with cameras and all these things, and they're happening whether you like them or not. You may not partake, but you're going to know people who are partaking. So we're all going to be involved in this stuff. It's like, do we trust that he's had an honest evolution? I leave that for everyone to decide on their own, and I'll keep showing the videos of him as he evolves, and you can make your decision on that. The other thing that's just sort of interesting, this is kind of a total throwaway. I want to show you this quick video because a lot of people are also noting that his voice is actually a little bit deeper. His way of speaking seems to be a bit different. His facial structure, and they tanned him a bit. He's got way more hair. Like, what is going on with him? And let's just juxtapose that with this viral video from like a year and a half ago of Mark Zuckerberg smoking meats. And just look how different he looks.
I'm the meat chef. Yeah, someone asked me, do I smoke meat? Smoking meat, smoking these meats. Smoking meats earlier in the day. Smoking these meats, just set the charcoal up and you set the wood chips up, and then smoking meats, grilling meats, good smoky flavor.
Sorry, that was about 6 years ago. Anyway, it doesn't really add anything to anything, but people are saying maybe he's on TRT, testosterone, or just like, what is going on here? And it's like, as he becomes more of a man, he's becoming more conservative. I don't know, there's something there. But now let's dive back into the issues themselves, because as Again, whether you use Facebook or not, or you're going to be on all these Meta products or not, or whatever, there are an awful lot of people, many of them grandparents, who are on there. And Zuckerberg says they are even evolving as it pertains to fact checking. And it's going to be a lot more like X's community notes, which I reference here all the time. It's the crowdsourced fact checking apparatus that Elon brought into X, and it's been great and it works and it's helping keep people honest. Well, they're going to import that into Facebook as well.
This is something where I think X and Twitter just did it better than us on fact-checking. We took the critique around around misinformation. We put in place this fact-checking program, which basically empowered these third-party fact-checkers. They could mark stuff false, and then we would downrank it in the algorithm. I think what Twitter and X have done with community notes, I think is just a better program. Rather than having a small number of fact-checkers, you get the whole community to weigh in. When people who usually disagree on something tend to agree on how they're voting on a note, that's a good sign to the community that there's actually like a broad consensus on this, and then you show it. And you're showing more information, not less, right? So you're not using the fact check as a signal to show less. You're using the community note to provide real context and show additional information. So I think that that's better.
Yeah, that's way better. Remember, what was it, 2 weeks ago when we were talking about that H-1B visa thing, and I was talking about, there's this public fight between Vivek and Elon and some of the Trump people, and it's all happening, and everyone was freaking out about it. What I kept saying was, well, it's at least happening publicly, right? What do we want? We want more transparency. How does government make decisions? Well, I think we want that out of our corporations, and particularly our social media as well. So him making the move here, basically being like, our kind of shadowy group of fact checkers who nobody knew who they were really exactly, and of course they were all woke, so it was if you said that a boy is a boy and a girl is a girl, you were going to get deboosted and all that stuff. Doing it all on the DL in this secret back room, that's not going to work anymore. So they're going to import the thing that is maybe community notes is imperfect. I'm sure it's not. I don't know that there is a perfect system, but something that is way more transparent, where everyone will be able to see how something is either verified as true or not true, or misinformation, or the rest of it. We've got video here. Wait, do we have one more on the community notes, or do we have? No. So I want to connect this also to what's largely happening politically, because Donald Trump, obviously, everything that's happening with Zuckerberg, or when you see these people evolving suddenly, it's because of the Trump effect, right? Right. So what's happening? Well, there's a guy by the name of Joe Biden, and he's got a week left, and he's not happy. Before we move on to the Trump effect, he is not happy with Zuckerberg's decision to get rid of that secretive back room of fact checkers.
Let's take a listen.
Of walking away from fact checking, as well as not reporting anything having to do with discrimination regarding the TPS, I find to be just contrary to American justice, the way we talk about one another. Telling the truth matters. I mean, I know I'm on national television, but you all are local reporters and national reporters. This is not a legit, real question, but what do you think? You think it doesn't matter that they let be printed, where millions of people read it, things that are simply not true? I mean, I don't know what that's all about. It's just completely contrary to everything America's about.
Actually, it's called free speech, Joe, and it's pretty much everything America is all about. That's how it works. I mean, what a sad, pathetic ending to a horrific presidency and a shell of a human being. He looks horrible. I don't know what powder they're putting on his head, and his face is crumbling, and he's reading and doesn't know what TPS. He doesn't know what he's saying. And yes, you are allowed to say things that aren't true. There are ways, community notes is one of them, that the systems in place, the social media, where we are all doing the dance of fighting for our ideas and everything else, that can hopefully, to some extent, keep things within sane rails. But yes, it is your God-given right, and the Constitution defends that God-given right. It happens to be the first of all of the amendments that you can say what you want. And by the way, when you see the part that he can't, because he's so muddled at this point that he really can't get through, is he's upset that it's those people, right? It's those people who are lying and spreading misinformation. But who spread more misinformation when it came to COVID and virtually all of the stories of the last 5 years than Joe Biden and his administration and his people at MSNBC and CNN and everywhere else? I didn't lie about COVID and vaccines and lockdowns and 6 feet social distancing and all these things. It was you guys. And you've also been caught in your lies, which is exactly what Zuckerberg is talking about right there. So now let's connect this, because Joe is the past. Hallelujah. Let's connect this to the future. Donald Trump, the once and future president, is coming back 1 week from today. And here is his incoming Deputy Chief of Policy, Stephen Miller, talking about how Zuckerberg meeting with Trump, the transparency that we're seeing now, this is all part of the Trump effect.
Stephen, now there's some positive signs here with his comments, but is this a genuine mea culpa, or are these changes temporary?
Well, Mark Zuckerberg came up to Mar-a-Lago, and as it happened, I had the opportunity to meet with him on the same day that he was there to meet with President Trump. And we had a chance to ask him these questions and ask if this new emphasis on free speech was sincere, ask if this new emphasis on ending DEI was going to endure. And all I can say is that Mark said that it was. You know, I can't read a man's inner thoughts, his inner mind. When the CEO of a large corporation comes out and says, no, I'm going to push for free speech. No, I'm going to end racist policies at my corporation. That's something that we should encourage, but we should also say, but we need to verify it. We need to show that this is actually happening, that we're not demonetizing and that we're not censoring. I just want to make a very important point, though. This is all part of the Trump effect. President Trump made clear throughout the campaign that he was going to end censorship when he came in.
Yeah, that's right. So he's really echoing what I'm saying there, that, okay, it's nice that Zuckerberg is changing his tune, right? I never really heard an apology from Zuckerberg, and maybe that'll come around. I'd love to have him on the show and discuss that. Like, what was his internal philosophical debate that he was having? How much pressure was he under from other board members, shareholders, et cetera? But putting that aside for a second, the point that Miller's making is, hey, he came here and said he's changing. So whether it's fully authentic or not, whether it's just that he sees what's happening in the world or not, it doesn't matter. But what is happening, whether he likes it or anyone likes it or not, is the world is changing. That is the Trump effect. There is going to be a more robust defense of free speech. There is going to be a much better use of government when it comes to, say, protecting our borders and making sure that, I don't know, our cities aren't burning down, which will get us to what we're talking about in just a second. But first, PDS debt. Guys, we all know that getting in credit card debt is oh so easy. Getting out, well, the system's set up so that you don't. If you're struggling with credit cards, personal loans, collections, or medical bills, you need to check out PDS Debt. PDS provides a service to match you with debt solutions tailored to your financial situation. If you're making payments every month on your debt and your balances aren't going down, PDS has solutions for you. Everyone with $10,000 or more in eligible debt qualifies, and there's no minimum credit score required. Bad and fair credit accepted. Save more while paying off your debt in a fraction of the time. Stop waiting and start saving. Get a free debt analysis right now at pdsdebt.com/Rubin. It only takes 30 seconds. That's pdsdebt.com/Rubin, pdsdebt.com/Rubin. And now back to me. Okay, so as we're breaking through the ice of the last decade or so, of the mass censorship, of certainly when you talk about the last 4 years, absolute government inefficiency and incompetency from the man with dementia all the way down to all of the DEI hires and everything else. Let's connect this to what's going on over in California, because Los Angeles has been on fire for about a week. The Pacific Palisades are largely destroyed. It's gotten a bit into the valley. It's been in Pasadena and all over the place. And we're seeing a confluence of things. We're seeing mismanagement. We're seeing acts of God, meaning high winds. We're also seeing a bunch of arson. We'll get to that in a second. But what is the media doing with all of this? Well, over on the televised mental institution, known as MSNBC, Jen Psaki, who's she focused on? Is it, say, the President of the United States, who should have been dealing with climate change, if you believe in it, Joe Biden? No. Is it the governor of California, who's been governor for a long, long time and had plenty of time to worry about this, if you believe in climate change? No. Is it the mayor that she's worried about, who is in Ghana? No. Who's she worried about right now as California burns? Well, of course, it's a certain orange man and a particular billionaire.
And with these fires still burning, we are facing important questions about how to mitigate and prevent disasters like this in the future. Fact is, leaders will need to confront a very complicated and challenging reality moving forward. But right now, that is not exactly what is happening. Instead, Donald Trump and his allies are injecting half-truths, misinformation, and flat-out lies in some cases in order to score a version of political points, I suppose. Those lies were then spread and amplified by the richest man in the world on the social media site that he owns. So I guess none of us should have been shocked this week when Elon Musk posted that the Los Angeles Fire Department prioritized DEI over saving lives and homes. That's an exact quote. That appeared to be a disgusting dig at the city's fire chief, Khloe, who has served in the department for decades, rising through the ranks to become the first female and LGBTQ fire chief in LA's history. So now we're back in this vicious cycle where Trump and his new bestie push lies about a natural disaster, and then right-wing media runs with them.
I cannot illustrate this point enough. Nobody cares if the firefighter's a dyke. Can she put out fires? You can say dyke still. A dyke is also a type of, it keeps water out of places like Amsterdam. Anyway, this is absurd. She says something that sort of makes sense at the beginning, right? We're going to have to figure out how to mitigate and prevent these things. Well, again, it's you guys that have been in charge forever. It's not just that you have the mayor of the city and the governor of the state and the president of the United States. You have a supermajority in the legislature of California. This is all on you guys. So while she says one sentence that actually makes sense, you might then look at the mirror and be like, oh, but it's us that have been in charge. So why didn't we prevent and mitigate and everything else? And then the way she can just spin it into the very next sentence. Who should we really be worried about? We should be worried about Donald Trump and Elon Musk. And the fact of the matter is, we discussed this last week, no one is blaming the entirety of the fire on DEI. Nobody is. But if you have an institution, it does not matter what it does. Let's say you're just you sell shoes. You just have an independent shoe store for a living. If you bring in a DEI department, well, now you're wasting resources, but you're also wasting time. Well, we want a certain amount of lesbian shoe salesmen or women, right? Like, you then take your eye off the ball. So it is connected. There, we showed you videos last week. Well, we'll have more in just a second. Let's just jump over to Gavin Newsom, who is a white man, and that is the least of his problems at the moment because he is the governor of California. He absolutely destroyed San Francisco with drugs and homelessness. And then, of course, because he's a Democrat and he uses a lot of gel, you get a promotion in Cali, became the governor. He survived the recall. It is him. All of this falls on him. Do not tell me this is climate change or anything else. What is he doing? Well, he managed over the weekend to go on a podcast to talk about Donald Trump instead of being out there with the people.
Just before we started recording, you invited Donald Trump to come here to Los Angeles, see the devastation. You said the hundreds of thousands of Americans displaced from their homes and fearful for the future deserve to see us all working together in their best interests, not politicizing a human tragedy and spreading disinformation from the sidelines. So this is after Trump blamed you for the fires. He says it's the fault of water mismanagement. Your initial response to that was, I have a lot of thoughts and I know what I want to say. I won't. Yeah. It seems like you're trying to walk a very fine line here, extending an open hand to Trump as you signed your letter, but also calling him out for spreading disinformation. Is that because you have concerns that he might withhold disaster assistance when he becomes president?
He's been pretty straightforward about that. He's tried to do it in the past. He's not just done it here in California. He's done it in states all across the country. I mean, he did it in Puerto Rico. He did it even in Utah. He did it in Connecticut. In other states, Georgia, he got upset. What the president-elect was saying about state water project and the Delta smelt somehow being culpable of somehow leading to some of the challenges that we face down here it's words. It's a salad. It's the form and substance of fog. It's made up. It's delusional. And it's a consistent mantra from Trump going back years. And it's reinforced over and over within the right wing. And so it's become gospel. And it's so profoundly ignorant.
My friend Viva Fry often says that every accusation is a confession, and that's what it is with Newsom, right? He is the human fog, right? Everything about him is a shell game. It's interesting. Phoenix made a point during that, which is that, the Republicans largely, and Trump largely won because he was going to all the podcasts, right? He was capturing culture, and that's what everyone was saying. He was going on Rogan, he was doing all this stuff and speaking freely. And it's like Newsom doing this now is you can sort of feel like it was like there was this meeting, and they were like, what can we do with Newsom? Because we get people to like Newsom. Well, the whole state's burning down. What can we do? What can we do? And they're like, get him on a podcast. But you shouldn't be on the podcast when you should be out there with the people. You think Ron DeSantis, if there was a horrific hurricane, would be on my show as the hurricane was hitting? No, of course he wouldn't. He would actually be in the zone, or he would be coordinating from Tallahassee to make sure that power grids were up and that people were going to be saved and that helicopters would be available and all of those things. So they can't even get that part right because everything they do is contrived and ridiculous. But then, of course, it's mostly, and these, I really can't stand that. Like, it's another one of these guys who can't get a boner, and I'm just going to talk to you, and I love you so much, Gavin, and oh my God, you're so great. And what they're really worried about is whether Donald Trump will withhold funds. How about Gavin Newsom in your reign of terror since you've been governor? How about you cleaning up the brush? How about you making sure the reservoirs are filled? How about not wasting money on, well, we'll get to it in a second, but how about not wasting money on literally trying to Trump-proof your state and force DEI into everything rather than doing the things that are right that would help the people whose houses are burned down right now? Gavin Newsom, though, he's out there and he's trying to figure out what happened here.
I want to know the answers. So I'm the governor of California. I want to know the answer. I've got that question. I can't tell you about how many people, what happened. My own team saying what happened. And I want to get the answers. And I'll be candid with you, I wasn't getting straight answers.
Yeah.
I watched the press conference. I met with some of those leaders. We had my team start talking to local leaders, saying what's going on. Our state.
And you weren't getting straight answers from
I was getting
leaders.
Different answers. When you start getting different answers, then I'm not getting the actual story. And they're assessing it. And I get that as well. You have to a little bit of grace, back to the point. We're in this emergency environment and everything else. So I just want to determine the facts. But no one has any patience anymore. In this weaponized, back to the grievance of Trump, everyone else, there's immediacy. And lies travel the proverbial world. And it's hard to get the facts out there unless you have backing of those facts and you can communicate them soberly. And so that's what we're trying to achieve as relates to this. But I have 10 other things we're doing concurrently as well. I mean, across the board on recovery, on disaster assistance, getting the major disaster declaration. It may be the first one in U.S. history over a text with the White House within literally 36 hours to get 100% reimbursement for folks out here. We've been working concurrently in all of these areas. We're doing executive orders as I speak as it relates to recovery and land use, dealing with speculation and fraud, and trying to address issues on the Coastal Commission here and address the issue of planning permits and how we address all of the myriad of needs for small businesses, all of this in real time. Again, as the state, even though this is not a state responsibility area, to support the city and the county that are overwhelmed at this moment.
If you guys have a little extra time later, just rewind that video and watch it on mute. Everything about him is contrived and fake, and his body motion and all of it. And it's like, dude, I'm trying to find out answers. I'm talking to people too. People are like, oh my God, what's going on here? And I'm like, I don't know what's happening either. It's all on you. The buck stops with someone. Well, maybe not in California. The buck stops with nobody. But you should not be in office. You have ruined everything you've ever touched except for your own bank account, right? You ruined San Francisco, right? You managed to go to dinner at French Laundry with lobbyists while you were literally closing other restaurants in the state. You should donate your Plump Jack winery. I think it's around 50 acres. You should donate it to people whose houses have burned because of you. But don't take my word for it. I don't know if I don't want to get in any trouble here. This may be a cheap fake or a deep fake or AI. I don't know. I'm a simple man. I'm sure the fact checkers will find it. Here's Gavin Newsom.
A lot of people right now are looking to point the blame for who is responsible for these fires, and I am no different. I want to know who the fault belongs to for this city running out of water, even though we literally have fires every year. Every year we have fires. We literally have a fire season, and yet we ran out of water. When I find out who is responsible, let me tell you, they are going to be in big trouble. We do have some initial ideas about who may be to blame. Incoming President Donald Trump is at the top of the list. The guy is literally orange, the same color as the flames. Coincidence? Maybe. Climate change is a close runner-up. Even though we had more rain last year than in 1877 when we first started tracking rainfall in Los Angeles. Climate change is a good thing to blame because that way no one actually gets in trouble for the sheer magnitude of incompetence. Rest assured we are fighting the fires with every resource we have. We are currently spraying fire retardant in all affected areas. And we have firefighters from all over ready to help once they complete their week-long sensitivity training. Also, I'm not trying to place blame, but the insurance companies in this state pulled coverage from many homeowners, no Luigi. So maybe blame them. Yes, I diverted a ton of water to save some dumbass fish. And yes, focusing on diversity over competence probably led to this. But everyone makes mistakes, except me, obviously. And an even more diverse and inclusive government can ensure mistakes like these are never made again. That's how it works, clearly. Also, didn't I just pass a law making AI deepfakes of politicians illegal? Not cool. Not cool.
I think that is the first time we have ever played a Gavin Newsom video where I wasn't angry the entire time. Yes, that was AI. Come at me, fact checkers. But that is Gavin Newsom. If Gavin Newsom was a truthful and honest man, there was more truth and honesty in that right there. I also want to drive home one other point that AI Gavin Newsom made, which is this idea that I talked about with Dr. Drew last week about climate change. Look, I don't believe in climate change. I don't. I'm sorry. Cancel me, whatever you want. Can humans do more to be good to the environment? Of course. Do we all want clean air and water and all that stuff? Okay, fine. Yes, good. Gavin Newsom has spent more on private planes than you and everyone you know watching this has ever spent, and putting CO2 emissions in the air and everything else. But if you believe in climate change, absolutely, and you think it's an existential threat and all of those things, again, Gavin, it was you who's been governor of this state for basically a decade. Biden has been president for the last 4 years. You guys have a supermajority. So what did you do to prevent this? This had nothing to do with Donald Trump. The answer to that question is 2 words: jack shit. Here's Gavin Newsom lying about the reservoirs in California.
I called for him to come out, take a look for himself. We want to do it in the spirit of an open hand, not a closed fist. He's the president-elect. I respect the office. We have a president of the United States that within 36 hours provided a major disaster declaration over a text. We had support from the president of the United States, Joe Biden, with 100% reimbursement, all the resources you could hope for or imagine, constant communication. I'd like to extend that to the president-elect. I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the Delta smelt in reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full. The state reservoirs here in Southern California, that mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us. Responding to Donald Trump's insults, we would spend another month. I'm very familiar with them. Every elected official that he disagrees with, very familiar with them.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation, to understand what was happening with that local reservoir. That was not a state system reservoir, which the president-elect was referring to as it relates to the Delta and somehow connecting the Delta smelt to this fire, which is inexcusable because it's inaccurate, also incomprehensible to anyone that understands water policy in the state.
First off, I have to say, that almost looks like AI, but putting that aside, that actually is real. The reporter there, Jacob Sobra, was like, but the reservoirs aren't filled. Well, no, that's not the reservoir I was talking about. Everything with this man is a shell game. And now I want to show you a video that I kid you not, this guy's career should have been over a long, long time ago. When I campaigned with Larry Elder, I was hanging my hat on that we could end his career and then I would stay in California. Now I'm thrilled to live in Florida for a million reasons. But this guy should have been removed from office a long time ago because he is the perfect avatar for everything that is wrong with the left, everything that is wrong with wokeness, everything that is wrong with the people who want to censor you, everything that is wrong with the people who want all the power over your life and an authoritarian government and all of those things. This video, it's about a minute long, should end him forever. This is a Pacific Palisades resident whose house has just burned down, and many of her friends' houses burned down, confronting Gavin Newsom. And listen, I won't give too much away, but just listen to how easily he lies and then gets confronted.
Governor, you got a second? Governor, I live here, Governor. That was my daughter's school, Governor. Please tell me what you're going to do. I'm not going to hurt him, I promise.
I'm literally talking to the president right now to specifically answer the question of what we can do for you and your daughter.
Can I hear it? Can I hear your call? Because I don't believe it.
I'm sorry. There's literally, I've tried 5 times. That's why I'm walking around to make the call.
Why is the president not taking your call?
Because it's not going through. So
Why?
I have to get cell service.
So let's
There's
get
no
it.
cell service.
Let's get it. I want to be here when you call the president.
I appreciate it. I'm doing that right now. And it's to immediately get reimbursements, individual assistance, and to help you. I'm devastated for you. I'm so sorry, especially for your daughter. I have 4 kids. Losing the school.
Everyone who went to school there, they lost their homes. They lost 2 homes because they were living in one and building another. Governor, please tell me, what are you going to do with the president right now?
We're getting the resources to help rebuild. We're getting
Why
the
was there no
resources to do
water
it.
in the hydrants,
That's
Governor?
all that's all literally.
Is it going to be different next time?
It has to be. Has to
Right.
be. Of course.
What are you going to do?
I'm doing
To
everything
fill the
I can.
hydrants. I would fill them up personally, you know that.
I literally have.
I would fill up the hydrants myself.
I understand.
But would you do that?
I would do whatever I can.
But you're not. I see do you know there's water dripping over there, Governor? There's water coming out there. You can use it.
I appreciate it. I'm going to make the call to address everything I can right now, including making sure people
I'd
are
like
safe.
to make sure you do. Can I have an opportunity to at least tell people you're doing what you're saying you're doing? Could somebody have a contact? Can I have your contact information?
Right there.
I really despise him. I despise him. You know, those moments where I play a video of someone that I really can't stand, like it's not good to hold hatred and whatever. He's evil. Like when I say he's a lizard, I don't know what drives him. I don't know what evil force drives him to be as incompetent and slick and evil as he is, and yet still have the gall to be out there. But did you see how quickly, how easily he lied? He said, I'm literally talking to the president right now. And then she's like, well, can I hear? He's like, oh, we don't have cell phone service. The man, I would love to talk to Jordan Peterson about this. Like, what can drive someone that can lie so easily? Like, what is that in his cold black heart? If there's any, well, I guess he's cold-blooded because he's a lizard, and it's just a different biological makeup, I suppose. That should end him. And by the way, you know, he says the word literally a lot. I say literally a lot. I'm going to try to use it less because it's always going to remind me of Gavin Newsom. But she's right. This woman is right. Their buck stops with nobody over there. There's water over there. Can we get some water pressure over here? I'm looking into it. Everything is, I don't know, none of it's my fault. Let's connect this to some of the woke stuff. Because as I said at the top of the show, it is not the fault of the woke ideas that this fire started, but the inability for the city and state to deal with it properly, and the utter incompetence, and the always looking over there, how many black lesbians do we have as fire department people? Instead of being like, how many competent people do we have that can put out fires? That has exacerbated the situation, to say the least. Here is video of Los Angeles Fire Department Deputy Chief Kristen Larson, who happens to be a lesbian. I'm only mentioning that because that's what they care about. Talking about the fact that you should want a firefighter who looks like you so that you'll be more at ease.
Period. Did the city of Los Angeles fail you and your department and our city?
It's my job to stand up as a chief and exactly say justifiably what the fire department needs to operate to meet the demands of the community.
Did they fail you?
That is our job, and I tell you, that's why I'm here. So let's get us what we need so our firefighters can do their jobs.
Did they fail you?
Yes.
All right. Sorry about that, guys. We threw to the wrong video there, so that we're going to get to that one in just a second. This is LA Fire Department Deputy Chief Christine Larson, and she just wants you to have a firefighter who looks like you.
You want to see somebody that responds to your house, your emergency, whether it's a medical call or a fire call, that looks like you. It gives that person a little bit more ease, knowing that somebody might understand their situation better. Is she strong enough to do this? Or you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire, which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
Oh my God, only 5% of women are firefighters. Who gives a fuck? Can you get me out of my house and my kids and my cat as the house is burning down? And that line right there, like people might be afraid I can't pick him up. Well, how did he get in this? That is, sorry, you got to do a different job. You can't have that job. But that is the shit that these people have been inculcated with. That is the evil idea that has been just seeped into the system everywhere where wokeness is. So again, I don't blame wokeness for the utter, complete disaster, but we should be able to look at the multi-layers that are going on here, from arson to mismanagement to wokeness. all of the stuff, you can even throw in climate change if you want. We should look at all the stuff and be like, well, what can we fix here? The idea that you want someone who looks like you to save you is completely absurd. And the good people of the internet have been having all sorts of fun with this in meme form, which is why Gavin Newsom wants to make memes illegal. Yeah, because, you know, if you're in a wheelchair, look at this. If you're in a wheelchair and you're trying to get out of your burning house, can I get a firefighter with a wheelchair? Is there a black lesbo with a lazy eye and a wheelchair to get me out of this house? Because that's what I look like. It's completely absurd. I've gone far enough. Let's throw to Megyn Kelly, who also is not thrilled with this stuff.
Who gives a if the fire chief is gay? I'm sorry, but who gives a flying fig about who she likes to sleep with? Can you fight the fires, madam? That's the relevant question. We don't care about your lady parts, and we don't care who you want having access to them. Can you fight fires? Can you make sure there's water in the fire hydrants when you realize in Ventura County this is a massive problem?
Do you see what you people have done to Megyn Kelly? Megyn Kelly, who comes from the mainstream Fox show for years, NBC, didn't have to curse, didn't have to scream, very reputable person. I'm different. I came from the internet. I can drop the F-bombs now and again. But you see what you've done to her. The poor woman has to wake up every morning, put on her lovely makeup, do her beautiful hair, and then go, you effing motherfucker, I'm gonna kick your ass and everybody, because at some point there's nothing left to say. Nobody cares whether the firefighter or the fire chief is a lesbian. Unless you're Gavin Newsom and the people who vote for Gavin Newsom. Here is, now we'll get to the video I was referencing earlier. Here is the lesbian fire chief, Kristen Crowley. They're all Christine or Kristen. For some reason, all these lesbos are named Christine, Kristen. Here's Kristen Crowley, and she's asked if the government of Los Angeles has failed the lesbian firefighters. I don't know, just
period. Did the city of Los Angeles fail you and your department and our city?
It's my job to stand up as a chief and exactly say justifiably what the fire department needs to operate to meet the demands of the community.
Did they fail you?
That is our job, and I tell you, that's why I'm here. So let's get us what we need so our firefighters can do their jobs.
Did they fail you?
Yes.
You, person in the Palisades who's standing in the rubble of your home right now, you failed that lesbian, and I hope you think about what you've done to her. Do you see how it's all a shell game? The buck stops with nobody. Everybody's blaming everybody. Gavin Newsom, why isn't there water coming out of the fire hydrants? Well, I'm going to find out about that. Fire chief, did the people fail you? Well, it's my job to sort of do things, but yes, they did fail me. Everything. And that is why wokeness destroys everything. It incorporates and elevates incompetence into the system. And sometimes there's some serious shit happening, like fires with Santa Ana winds that are going about 80, 90 miles an hour and destroying hundreds, if well, thousands of acres of homes. And maybe we should hire people based on skill instead of some other stuff. Here is Caitlin Collins over on CNN saying that Los Angeles Fire Department Chief Kristen Crowley was supposed to be in a meeting with Karen Bass, probably to be fired, but that just never materialized.
News we brought you at the top of the hour. There was a meeting behind closed doors a short time ago between the mayor of Los Angeles, Karen Bass, and the LA fire chief, Kristen Crowley. The two have been publicly contradicting each other on whether or not budget cuts had hindered the LA Fire Department's ability to respond to these wildfires that are burning tonight. Chief Crowley had been blunt, including in an interview on CNN here earlier, saying that her warnings about those budget cuts and how they were affecting her department had been ignored. But the mayor's office is denying an online report tonight that she had fired Crowley, her office telling CNN, quote, "This is false."
Okay, so the fact that even that, like, was she about to be fired? Should she be fired and everything else? But again, I just want to just completely drive home the point. This is all about Gavin Newsom. At the end of the day, all we ask for government is like, just make sure my house doesn't burn down. Like, there are basic things we should be asking of government, not big things. We have a bad habit of asking big things, but the basics have just been completely ignored here. So for anyone that's like, well, now we'll figure out why the fire hydrants didn't turn on, and we'll find out why that lesbian was arguing with that lesbian about that thing. It's like, it has to fall on somebody's desk. So Gavin Newsom, resign in shame. If you have a shred of humanity, I know you don't, so I'm probably talking to myself here. Resign in shame, disappear, move to your very, very fancy winery up in Sonoma area and live your days out there. That's what you can do. You can go to French Laundry every day. But LA Mayor Karen Bass, she's got her own problems. As you know, she was in Ghana when this thing started. Check this out from Fox News. Petition demanding resignation of LA Mayor Karen Bass, signed by more than $92,000. Again, you only have to think back to that video we showed you a couple days ago where the reporter was asking Karen Bass, what's going on here? Where can we get help? Or do you feel like we're doing the right job? And she just stands there like a deer in headlights, can't even speak. The woman cannot speak when she is not being given a prepared statement. She is not competent. She should not have that job. And even Kim freaking Kardashian has just about had it. This from the New York Post. Khloe Kardashian rips LA Mayor Karen Bass amid wildfire disaster. You are a joke. Sorry, I said Kim, but it's Khloe. I don't really know the difference between those girls. I know they all have big lips and big asses. Stephen A. Smith, who was on my show last week, was on another podcast talking to Kevin Frazier, and they got into it about Newsom and Bass.
They gotta go.
They gotta go. You know what? They gotta go. I don't give a damn if they do. After what I've seen last week, they gotta go. I'm done. I'm done, Kevin. I'm done.
Steve, sometimes there are natural disasters you can't do a damn thing about. When a hurricane hits your house down in Florida, what can you do? Are you yelling at the politicians to stand out there and stop the winds?
Kev, I'm not going off about the fires. The fires is not their fault. But when firefighters are standing there and saying there's not enough water in the fire hydrant.
That's true.
When Donald Trump asked for water to be pumped from Canada into the LA system, and Gavin Newsom opposed that. When you're hearing about environmentalists compelling him to protect smelt and little fish and salmon at the expense of LA citizens, of California citizens, Kevin, I don't need much else than that. I just don't. Maybe you're nicer than me. Maybe I'm too cruel. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, that's right, Stephen A. And we're going to play you a clip in a second where Stephen A. was in this very room less than a week ago, the day before the fire started, talking about how he likes Gavin Newsom as a person, right? So this is not someone who has had Newsom derangement syndrome or anything else, right? But I don't know who this Kevin Frazier guy is, but it's interesting because he's basically like tossing everything back on that there are hurricanes, there are fires, and shit happens. And it's like, that is true to a degree, right? There are always going to be human disasters. There are going to be acts of God, right? There are going to be fires, there are going to be earthquakes, there are going to be hurricanes, all these things that are going to destroy things, no matter how well you build, right? And no matter what you do, you build your house up 10 feet because of storm surge, and somehow it ends up being 11 feet. There are always better ways to build houses and stop embers and all those things. But that can't be your gut reaction about all of this, right? Your reaction, and so when he's like, well, a hurricane could hit your house, and what would you do? Say you don't want the winds? It's like, dude, actually, so I live in Miami, right? Miami is very hurricane prone. We have not had a massive hurricane, fortunately, in the 3 years that I've been here, but we had Hurricane Ian on the other coast, which was a Category 5. We had the other hurricanes just a few months ago, the massive hurricanes with super destruction. And guess what happens in Florida? And no one debates this really except the crazy lefties. DeSantis knows what he's doing. And we have linesmen and electricians and engineers out there. We fix things quickly. We make sure people are out of the zones to the best of their ability. Like, we can't do something perfectly. There's always going to be people who won't leave their house when they're told a hurricane's coming or a fire is coming or whatever it might be. But it's just so thin, Kevin Frazier, to say to Stephen A. like, oh, what are you going to do when a hurricane comes? Well, actually, we build things a certain way here in Florida. I'm in Miami. But also, we just know that the system itself is better, right? Not everything is equal. So now I want to flash to last week, the day before the hurricanes hit. I was talking to Stephen A., who just moved to Florida. Just in the last few months, he left New York, left California, and he has moved to Florida. And I was asking him about California the day before this all burst forth.
And the finishing touch for me
was California, because I have to go out to LA a lot. And I am a fan of, I shouldn't say, listen, I like Gavin Newsom, the governor of Florida, from the standpoint as a person. Like, in other words,
that's a rare comment said in this room.
Nice person to talk to, because I've had conversations with him in the past. Highly intelligent individual, looks very sharp and very presidential in those suits. And then you see what's going on in California, you're like, nah. That's not me. These high taxes, the homelessness, the crime rate, etc. I'm looking at all of this unfolding because you have to remember I've been going back and forth to LA and New York a lot, pretty much since 2003. And so I see that, and I see the regression that has taken place. And so when people are going off, particularly folks on the left, and they're talking about these policies and what policies are better and what's not, and then I see folks on the right talking about real life issues and stuff like that, I'm like, I hate to admit it, they make a lot of sense. They make a lot of sense because I'm here, I'm pulling up to the gas station, the price of gas. I go to the supermarket for myself. I'm not one of those dudes that just send people to go. I go. Yeah. I know what the price of milk is. I know what the price of eggs are. I know these things. Yeah. I pump my own gas unless my guy is with me, my security. I pump my own gas. I see the prices of this stuff. I'm like, what the hell is this? And so I look at things from that standpoint, and when you hear people talking about practical things, and then I saw folks on the left basically trying to guilt me into voting for you, it bothered me.
Yeah, not only is that spot on, but the reason I wanted to show you that is because in the previous clip, he's now had it. You've got to go Newsom, you've got to go Bass, and everything else. It's interesting what he says there. So he lays out 3 things for Newsom there. He says he's a nice person, that he knows him. Now, I can't speak to their personal interactions, but if Stephen believes he's a nice person, okay, fine. He's highly intelligent. Well, I'll kind of grant him that Newsom obviously is intelligent. Like he's intelligent the way a used car salesman might be intelligent, in that he's able to sell you some shit, and that's largely what he's done. But that might be me being a little bit much there. I'll even grant that. Okay, he's a nice person, he's highly intelligent. That doesn't mean he's competent. And he looks the part. Well, I'll certainly grant him that, right? Perfect slick back hair, his suit's always fit, he's got nice white teeth. So it's like, okay, you look the part. But again, what are the results of what you've done? And I'm extremely glad. Again, that video was the day before the buyers. The previous video where he's calling him out, he's saying he's done, that's from yesterday. So it's a beautiful thing that we've just seen right there with Stephen A. Like, basically, he's willing to throw out the, oh, you look good and you're intelligent and I like you. You gotta go because you suck at your effing job. Guys, let's talk about Collars & Co. for a moment, and then we'll show you a place, we'll talk a bit more about California, and then we'll connect it to a place that is working well. You know which one I'm talking about. Collars & Co. is one of the fastest growing menswear brands in the USA, and for good reason. They're the ultimate example of a great American business, and they're changing the game when it comes to men's fashion. Their claim to fame? The dress collar polo. It's an elevated polo shirt with a firm dress collar that holds its shape. No more floppy or bacon collars. It's office approved, combining that sharp professional look with the comfort of a t-shirt. Whether you're heading to the office, out to dinner, or traveling, this polo is perfect for every occasion. The fabric is stretchy, super comfortable, and travels well, so it always looks great, whether you're wearing it by itself or laying it under a sweater or blazer. Even Eric Trump has been spotted rocking these polos all over his Instagram. But Collars & Co. didn't stop there. After securing $1 million deal on Shark Tank, they've expanded into other categories. They've got merino sweaters and quarter zips that pair perfectly with their polos, stretch chinos for ultimate comfort and style, the Maverick Performance Blazer, a travel blazer that's wrinkle-free, sharp-looking, and can literally be rolled up in a bag. These are wardrobe essentials for the modern guy who wants to look sharp and stay comfortable. So hey, what are you waiting for? Head on over to collarsandco.com and use code Rubin for 20% off your first order. That's collarsandco.com. Trust me, you're going to love this brand. Okay, so as I said, I've calmed down a little bit. As I said earlier, there's a confluence of a bunch of things here. There's government ineptitude, there's acts of God, there's the DEI stuff, there's awful people who should be voted out, all of these things. But what most people, we can only control the things we can control. So, right, if a massive hurricane's coming, it's coming either way. You can't stop the hurricane. Not yet. I don't know, maybe one day we'll have bombs that can stop hurricanes, or Cobra had a weather machine, I think, back in like 1985 that they were going to use against the Joes. It didn't work out for them, but there's things that maybe we could do in the future. The things that we can control are how our government works. And do they do the things to make sure that when a disaster is striking, it doesn't strike in the worst possible way, which is what we're seeing unfold right now. I want to show you this video of my friend Jillian Michaels. We had her on the show a couple weeks ago, who is a lifelong Californian on Fox News, talking about how she already lost her house back in 2018 thanks to fires. And the people who caused that, they were let off the hook. So what do you think's going to happen this time?
It's absolute madness. And I've seen that clip of that mother, and she says to the governor, will it be different next time? And he says, it has to be. Next time. This just happened 4 months ago. All of northern Malibu just burned down 4 months ago. It happened in 2018 when I lost my house. And not only was it not different, PG&E, who was responsible for the fire that burned down my house with equipment that was over 100 years old, was not only not held accountable, he completely let them off the hook, and they weren't forced to update the infrastructure. The fire hydrants are broken. The reservoirs ran dry. Well, guess what? In 2014, Californians voted on Proposition 1 to put billions toward building new reservoirs. Not one is complete 10 years later.
Now, isn't that something? Billions to build new reservoirs, kind of like the billions that they put in to build that rail that was going to go from LA to San Francisco, and it's cost billions, and not an ounce or not a meter of track has been laid at this point. So the point is, guys, you cannot stop acts of God, but you can do all of the things to mitigate the disaster when it comes. You can build differently. You can do the controlled burns. You can make sure you have proper people hired to do the jobs like firefighting that are equipped and aren't like, oh my God, that person doesn't look like me. I'm not going to make sure they get out of the burning home, which is what that lesbian said before. Gavin Newsom, again, this all falls on him because he has destroyed everything he has touched. This is just an oldie but a goodie from about a year and a half ago when Gavin Newsom debated Ron DeSantis. And I think in many ways, even though the DeSantis presidency didn't work out, he did irreparable damage to Newsom that hopefully is now fully bursting forth. You may remember this one.
Well, I'm looking at total time. Governor DeSantis,
look,
about 2 minutes.
This is a map of San Francisco. There's a lot of plots on that. You may be asking, what is that plotting? Well, this is an app where they plot the human feces that are found on the streets of San Francisco. And you see how almost the whole thing is covered, because that is what has happened in one of the previous greatest cities this country's ever had. Human feces is now a fact of life, except when a communist dictator comes to town. Then they cleaned up the streets. They lined the streets with Chinese flags. They didn't put American.
Yeah, and that's right. And just remember it. As DeSantis always says, decline is a choice. And I just think it's important in moments like this, as we're seeing utter incompetence and really, I would say downright evil when it comes to Newsom, it's important to compare that, to juxtapose that and be like, it does not have to be this way. It does not. We can have horrific hurricanes here with massive damage in Florida, but we know, you just know in your heart, if a hurricane was coming, that it was going to hit tomorrow. Do you think I would be worried about my family, and we'd want to make sure we're doing the proper things and have sandbags outside and make sure we have enough water and all of that, and that the generator was ready to go and all of that. But I would have complete confidence that my governor was competent enough to have done all of the work to make sure the systems work, that we would have the right people in place so that when something bad happens, it doesn't turn out to be the worst of all cases. Lifelong Angelino, Adam Carolla, who we played you that video that about 20 years ago wanted to become a LA fire department. He wanted to become a firefighter, and because of DEI, even though it wasn't quite called DEI at the time, was told get to the back of the line. So he never became a firefighter, and I'm sure he's happy about that because the guy's obviously super successful at this point. He went on Megyn Kelly's show and talked about how living in a place like Los Angeles, where everyone votes lefty, in a state like California that has a super majority of blue, to some extent, these people are getting what they deserve.
Gavin Newsom, got recalled essentially, and he still won. We had a choice between Rick Caruso, a sort of qualified, able-bodied businessman, for mayor. We ended up with Karen Bass. We sort of get what we deserve. And I do want to say to all the people in Malibu, very blue, Palisades, very blue, Santa Monica, very blue. You guys like all this. This is who you voted for these people. You're sitting around right now going, how come the fire hydrants don't work? Where's the mayor? Why is she out of the country? What's going on with the aqueducts? You voted for these people. This is who you voted for. You live in Santa Monica. You live in these places. This is how you roll. This is what you agree with. You think it's more important to have a woman of color versus a qualified person. You think it's more important to have a lesbian running the fire department than a qualified person. Well, you asked for it. You got it. Now your house is on fire.
Look, let me say, I don't think anyone deserves this. So even if you vote the wrong way, you get all the issues wrong. And by the way, plenty of Republicans live there too in their houses. I know that's not what Adam meant specifically, but nobody deserves any of this to happen. But eventually the chickens do come home to roost, right? If you vote in policies, even let's put away fire for a second. If you, the blue people, the Democrats of Palisades and Malibu, these super rich places, if you vote to allow these illegal immigrants in and become a sanctuary city and everything, then you are allowing for the criminality, and at the same time you're defunding the police and then everything else. And then of course you can connect that to the fire and DEI and all of those things. So no one deserves, I'm not pleased or happy or anything else. It's an extraordinary human tragedy right now. So Adam obviously agrees with that. It's not that anyone deserves this, but at some point the rubber meets the road. At some point, if you vote all of the wrong people in for all of the wrong reasons, while always attacking the people who are actually doing it right, some bad shit's gonna happen. And I think a lot of people in California are realizing that right now. Carolla mentioned Rick Caruso. Now, Rick Caruso was the businessman, commercial business guy who had largely built Los Angeles over the last couple decades. He built the Grove Mall, he built the Palisades Mall, he built the mall in Glendale. These are huge outdoor things, tons of commerce, like a functioning businessman. Well, a couple of years ago, California had a choice, or Los Angeles had a choice to go with him or Karen Bass, who, as I said earlier, is basically a deer in headlights right now. They chose Karen Bass. Look at this video from Rick Caruso in 2022, and is this prophetic or what?
I've been going around the city talking to firefighters and talking to paramedics. I've been talking to residents, and there's a deep concern throughout this city that the paramedics and the firefighters are understaffed because their budget has not been restored. From 15 years ago, when it was cut back, we have fire stations throughout this city that aren't mobilized because they don't have the staffing to do it, and it's just wrong. My plan as mayor is simple. We are going to restore the budget to bring the staffing levels back, to give the residents of Los Angeles the service they pay for and deserve. And that's the only way a city can be a great city. We have to reprioritize our budget in this city to make sure that our residents are safe and they're protected. And we can't do that unless we have a fire department that is fully funded and fully staffed.
So there you go, Los Angeles. That's the guy you did not vote for. And if you think that he doesn't know what he's talking about, oh, he's just a guy in a slick suit that looks like a politician, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, check this out. This is from Colin Rugg. Some of the only commercial structures still standing in the Pacific Palisades are the Palisades Village Mall, saved by businessman Rick Caruso, Karen Bass's 2022 mayoral opponent. This is a great learning moment. Caruso knew the fire risks, considering he previously served as commissioner for the LA Department of Water and Power. The businessman was also aware of Los Angeles's public fire service limitations, which is why he used a private firefighting service to help save the mall. Caruso narrowly lost to Bass, who is largely being blamed for the catastrophic LA fires during LA's 2022 mayoral race. Caruso served as commissioner for the Los Angeles Department of Water and Power in 1985, becoming the youngest commissioner in history at the time. And there you can see, guys, I mean, that's it. That is a video version. For those of you listening on the audio podcast, you're seeing that his mall in Palisades still is up. This is a guy who worked at the Water Commission, a functioning businessman. But you know what? You guys did not go that way, and rubber meet the road, chicken to roost, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Elon tweeted this video of me this morning, and it's deeply connected to all of this, that what should we ask of government, right? I was on the Iced Coffee Hour podcast when we were in Vegas a couple of weeks ago. Elon just put this video up this morning where they were asking me about what government efficiency should be like and why does Florida work and why I left California. 2 years ago, Hurricane Ian demolished Southwest Florida. Immediately after the hurricane, everybody on the news was saying to rebuild the Sanibel Causeway, which is about 4 miles, was going to take 3 years. That's what everybody was saying. DeSantis basically had it rebuilt in a month because he brought all the best contractors down. He took everybody to the bridge and basically said, what do we need to do? We gave him our recommendations and he started making it happen the next day. That's proper, competent governance. We're just so not used to that. We're used to what you fled in California, an ever-growing state that taxes endlessly and punishes people for success. And then it's like, how is it that I have nice, clean roads in Florida? How is it that we don't have homeless people? Why do things work with no income tax in Florida? And why does Cali tax the high hell out of you and have much worse services and much worse infrastructure and a whole series of other problems? So the government shouldn't do much. Everything should be dealt with at the state and local level. And then the federal government should have a couple things that they're supposed to do. So that would be border, make sure the states aren't warring with each other, interstate commerce, foreign policy. I would say the founders basically got it completely right. All right, so thanks to Elon for getting that out there, and I do happen to agree with myself, but I would add one other thing, which is, the line, the 9 scariest words in the English language from Ronald Reagan, I'm from the government, I'm here to help. What DeSantis did during that hurricane was the complete reverse. I've told you guys the story about how on election night for the gubernatorial election, I was at the DeSantis headquarters, and a guy came up, we broadcast this show live there, and a guy came up to me, I think right after the show, and said, I want to tell you a story, and he was an engineer that worked on the bridge over there, that Sanibel Causeway, and he said that DeSantis basically got us all together. And what you didn't hear me say in that video there was DeSantis said, what can I do to get out of your way? Right? Not I'm here to help you. His way of helping was getting out of the way so the people who are the professionals, the engineers and the electricians and the guys who are going to pour the cement and everything else could go do their job. That is a very stark difference. A politician who wants to get out of the way so that the proper, competent people can do their job, say DeSantis, versus a governor who thinks that he must do everything, but also when the shit hits the fan, he'll ask how it happened. He has no freaking idea. Guys, let's talk about 1775 coffee, and then we'll have more on the other side. It's time to make mornings great again. If your coffee isn't fueling your fight for health and freedom, it's time for an upgrade. 1775's Vitality Coffee isn't just coffee, it's brain fuel for patriots. Packed with lion's mane, reishi, cordyceps, chaga, and turkey tail mushrooms, this coffee doesn't just wake you up, it keeps you sharp and ready for anything. Lion's mane and reishi boost focus, cordyceps deliver clean, crash-free energy, and our hand-picked Bolivian beans pack a bold flavor corporate coffee can't compete with. No fillers, no woke nonsense, just coffee that works as hard as you do. Proudly backed by Rumble, this coffee isn't for conformists, it's coffee for the bold, the free, and the rebellious. Head over to 1775coffee.com and use code Rubin for 15% off. Make mornings great again with coffee that stands for bold flavor, uncompromising quality, and the freedom Rumble champions every day. Okay, so as I've said a couple times here, we've got the act of God version of this, right? The fire happened. We'll find out how it started and all of these other things, and that these things just do happen one way or another if you choose to live in a place that's largely dry. And by the way, if you choose to live in a place that is, say, a peninsula with, water around it, you might get hit with hurricanes. So this is what humans do. We see mountains and we climb them. That's the human experience. But there's another part of this, which is that a lot of this is man-made, not just the inefficiency of the fire hydrants that don't have water, but there is an arson situation that we are finding out more and more about. And I wonder how much of this is going to make it to the mainstream. Check this out from Bill Maloogian over at Fox. New, per ICE sources, the man seen in a viral video being subdued by residents and arrested by police with a blowtorch near the Kenneth Fire in West Hills is an illegal alien from Mexico named Juan Manuel Sierra Leyva. He is in custody on a probation violation and has not been charged with arson. I'm told ICE will place a detainer request on him with the LA County Sheriff's Department, but they do not expect it to be honored due to California's sanctuary state law. I'm told Sierra Leyva will have a court appearance tomorrow. Again, he has not been charged with arson and is in custody only on a probation violation at the moment, as multiple agencies have been interviewing him. If you're listening on the audio podcast, we're showing you the video of the guy with the freaking blowtorch. Here's a video of a transient immigrant arrested for starting a fire in Pioneer Park in Azusa, California.
I thought you meant like
Okay, so illegal immigrants coming across, setting up fires, transients setting fires. And then, of course, what else happens? Not only do we have a bad border, so these people come in and you're not going to believe it. They're not necessarily the best and the brightest and have all of your ideals and everything else. Culture actually matters. But what else is happening? Well, in Los Angeles, where they've largely defunded the police, they don't arrest people for committing actual crimes or anything else. Well, now there are looters all over Los Angeles, literally, in the Gavin Newsom sense of literally. Well, he uses literally in a non-literal way. I mean it literally dressing up as firefighters so that they can rob homes.
But when I was out there in the Malibu area, I saw a gentleman that looked like a firefighter, and I asked him if he was okay because he was sitting down. I didn't realize we had him in handcuffs. We were turning him over to LAPD because he was dressed like a fireman, and he was not. He just got caught burglarizing a home.
So what's the point of showing you that? The point is they've allowed criminality, and then bad guys want to take advantage of the situation. Oh, policing is down and there's chaos over there and there's a fire. What a good opportunity to throw on a firefighter's outfit and go steal. It's a degradation of all of the systems. That's the point. And when I talk about that shell game and why when wokeness gets into the system is then inefficient by definition. Things are finite. Time and resources are finite. Once you start focusing on genitals and skin color and all of these other things, the system will not work as well. And the other problem, of course, is when California has decided to be a sanctuary state and many of its cities sanctuary cities and offer services to illegals rather than spending money where it should be spent, say by getting rid of brush, perhaps in the Los Angeles or SoCal area, then terrible things happen. Listen to this as it pertains to California spending.
But the thing is, for sanctuary cities and states, they complain about the cost, but they continue to add services. I want to show you California. As of yesterday, California has added a health care benefit for migrants. They are now going to extend free health care to migrants between the ages of 26 and 49. That's going to cover 700,000 additional people and cost the state $2.6 billion each year. Now, that's added onto that's added onto California's deficit, which is already $68 billion.
So how do you feel today? How do you feel today if you're in the Pacific Palisades and you're standing in front of a bunch of smoldering rubble and you realize that, oh, the fire might have had something to do with an illegal immigrant with a blowtorch starting this fire, and we let these people in here. It's the president I voted for, Joe Biden or Kamala Harris, and it's the governor and the mayor, and we created a sanctuary city, and all of my tax dollars that weren't spent on making sure the brush was cleared and that we had done proper things to make sure the reservoirs were ready and the fire hydrants were filled, but we're going to give 700,000 illegal immigrants who are in their 20s health insurance. Zippity dippity. A guy by the name of J.D. Vance is going to be vice president a week from today. Here he is talking about the disaster, the absolute disaster. Well, dumpster fire. I know that's a little on the nose at the moment. That is Joe Biden, which has led to all of this.
So President Biden is doing what he can on his way out the door on a number of issues, and critics would say some of those appear to be aimed at blunting what you all might have planned. Let's talk first about immigration. Politico has this headline: Biden extends temporary status of nearly 1 million migrants ahead of Trump deportations. It says the move allows people from certain countries who currently have temporary protected status, or TPS, to renew work permits and deportation protections, extending the program for El Salvador until March 2026 and Sudan, Ukraine, and Venezuela until October of 26. How does President Trump plan to handle these last-minute things, and what are his own executive actions planned, especially with regard to the border on day one?
Yeah, so Shannon, if you step back a little bit, I do think it's important to reiterate that not just on the border, but on a whole host of issues, President Biden has left us an absolute dumpster fire. Now, we're excited to get to work, but we need to be open and honest about the fact that President Biden has not left the next administration in a good place, right? FEMA's funds are depleted. We have a wide open southern border. Oil is going through the roof. Bond yields went from 4.1% to 4.8% in a month. And that's on top of the fact that President Biden has been running the largest peacetime deficits in the history of this country. So we've got a lot of debt, a lot of problems, and a wide open southern border. And thank God that Donald Trump takes office in a week and a half, because we need somebody to actually govern this country effectively.
All right. I don't have to overanalyze that other than to say, do you see the fundamental difference between J.D. Vance and our current, only one more week left, Vice President Kamala Harris, the woman who spoke in circles and Venn diagrams, and I'm from a middle-class family and all of that. That's what we've been left with. So we had a man with dementia and a DEI hire, and the country barely survived it. And what we're about to be ushered in with is competence. I was at something over the weekend. I can't get into all the specifics, but Robert F. Kennedy was speaking. It was a small event, and one of the things he said is that he's so freaking happy because he's seeing something that he hasn't seen since his uncle was alive, 50 some odd years ago, which basically is that the amount of people who are highly competent that are now coming to him for government jobs is off the charts, that they have to staff HHS and all of these things. They have to staff the entire government, but good people are coming in because people want to serve America. And people don't want everything to be as bad as it's been. And I think with JD and RFK and some of these other people, I think we're going to get there. And what I want to do as all of that is happening, as always, as we get closer to the close here, is I want to bring in as many people into this wide tent as possible, even people who didn't vote for Trump 2 months ago. So I sat down with Stephen A. Smith last week and we talked about that thing right then and there. That's what we did.
I tip my hat to the Republicans, to the conservatives out here and what they did in this last election. Again, I did not vote for Donald Trump. Unlike people that suddenly turned around and kissing his ring and trying to feign like they're suddenly a supporter of his. No, I did not vote for him, but I got to tell you something. I'm not mad he won. I'm not mad he won because when I see, especially in the aftermath of the election, some of the things that transpired with the Democratic Party, in an effort to manipulate the election and the vote, it really ticked me off. You can't sit up there standing on your pedestal, pretending to be paragons of virtue and pointing out all that ails our country because of the conservatives and the right, and then turn around and provide all the ammunition in the world for us to look at you and say, how are you much different?
All right. So look, you might have watched that interview if you watched the whole thing, or you might have just watched that clip and be like, how did you not vote for Trump or anything else? But here he is coming around. And that's that Bruce Willis, welcome to the party pal moment, but it's good. It's good. And the real question is, as we widen this tent and we hopefully get as many good people in it as possible, and Stephen A. is obviously one of those people. Let's put aside what he did 2 months ago on the voting front. Like, the ideas are right. As we do that, I always talk about how you want a healthy tension between the parties, right? We should have an opposition party that is somewhat healthy. The problem is the Democratic Party has gone completely bananas. Bill Maher was on Alex Michelson's show in LA a couple days ago, and they were talking about that the Democratic Party has now become so radical that it actually could become extinct.
Increasing rights for people who have been marginalized, I'm all for that, but they don't know when to stop. And that's what the message of the electorate was, that the Democrats are all for the oppressed. And what the electorate was saying was, what's oppressing me? The price of eggs. Okay, that's what's oppressing me. Are there still racists in this country? Of course. Is that still an issue? Yes, it is. But the Democrats have to come to Jesus on that issue and a number of issues where obviously the fact that Donald Trump won more minority votes than I think any Republican since Nixon or before, that should tell you a lot. It's more about class now. And when they get on that page, when they have someone who comes up to I always say, let's live in the year we're living in, I think that party will do better. As of now, I don't see it in the Democratic Party. I see them still digging the hole deeper. But we'll see. I think parties basically want to survive, as all organisms do. But the Democrats could go the way of the Whigs. Parties do die off when they don't adapt. I don't think that's going to happen because I think, again, they do want to live. As they say in Jurassic Park, life finds a way. But we'll see. It's up to them.
It is up to them, and that's why I largely, as I've said to a lot of guests lately who are waking up, I kind of don't care what happens to the Democrats. What I want to focus on is the wide tent thing and making sure that an RFK and a Stephen A. Smith and a Tulsi Gabbard and a Joe Rogan and a Dave Rubin and you can be part of a wide tent conservative movement and Republican Party, and I think that that's strong. And but we're going to have to keep refining that and defining it and making sure that that keeps getting strengthened. What happens to them, largely, in some sense, it doesn't matter anymore. Will they go the way of the Whigs? Will they just say, we're all in on this progressive bullshit? We're going to push every straight white man out of this party. We're going to go all in on all of the horrible ideas that I think we've illustrated rather well over the past hour. Or is there some chance that, say, a John Fetterman can be the sane Democrat, and then you'd have, it's just so crazy, you can't make this up. You'd have the sort of John Fetterman version of the old school Democrat Party versus this other thing. I think John's going to come our way. What did I say on the show a couple weeks ago? I think it's going to, or somewhere around June or something, he might announce that he's a Republican. I'm just putting that out there. We shall see. I want to end with this. This might be our longest show ever. I want to end with this. Peter Thiel wrote a piece in the Financial Times about what he sees happening right now, and he's usually one of the guys that is ahead on virtually everything. He wrote this: "A time for truth and reconciliation. Trump's return to the White House augurs the apocalypse of the ancient regime's secrets," by Peter Thiel. "We cannot wait 6 decades, however, to end the lockdown on a free discussion about COVID-19. In subpoenaed emails from Anthony Fauci's advisor, David Morenz, we learned that the National Institutes of Health apparatchiks hid their correspondence from Freedom of Information Act scrutiny. Nothing," wrote Boccaccio on his medieval plague epidemic, the Decameron, "is so indecent that it cannot be said to another person if the proper words are used to convey it. In that spirit, Morenz and the former chief U.S. medical advisor Fauci will have the chance to share some indecent facts about their own recent plague. Did they suspect that COVID spawned from U.S. taxpayer-funded research or an adjacent Chinese military program? Why did we fund the work of EcoHealth Alliance, which sent researchers into remote Chinese caves to extract novel coronaviruses? Is gain-of-function research a byword for a weapons program? And how did our government stop the spread of such questions on social media?" And that, guys, is exactly how you do a 180 or a full complete 360, I should say, of a show. Because we started this show talking about, it was a long time ago, but we started this show talking about Mark Zuckerberg and censorship and coming around on that. And what are we ending with? Well, Peter Thiel, I didn't even realize it when we did the run through of the show. Peter Thiel happened to be the first investor, the first big time institutional investor of Facebook. So now you have the CEO of Facebook. At the top of the show, you have the guy who was the first institutional investor in Facebook at the end. And what are they both coming around on? Even though they've been at odds politically for years. Well, it's free speech and figuring out how do we have some transparency and what the hell did we just go through and everything else. And you can deeply connect that not only to COVID, but the fires that we're dealing with right now and virtually everything happening all over the world. That is our program for this Monday. I thank you for watching. We've got a post-game show in 30 seconds. And of course, if you have not seen it, the full interview with Stephen A. Smith is up across platforms. We leave you with a tribute to Dr. Fauci, and we'll see you at the post-game. Ciao.
Dr. Fauci, give us vaccines. Help all the people who have been quarantined. We'll wear our masks and we'll have to stay distant. We'll wash our hands and we'll be more resistant. Fauci, yes? Promise us, please. We'll have a cure that can fight off this disease. Restrictions will lift with some ease. Dr. Fauci, don't forget me.